But I love the opportunities that I got from the camera. It opened so many doors that I couldn't afford to get in myself. Bro, you really don't have to say anything. There's no secret sauce. You just have to talk to them, find out what their problem is, genuinely care about helping them with that problem, and let them know that you genuinely care. And someone was mad about their website. They're like, this thing sucks. Me joking, I'm like, how much you pay for it? He's like, 5,000. I was like, I would have done it for 1,000. The reason you're not being successful with your brand and with being able to sell yourself or sell people on your brand is because you need to look in the mirror and realize you're ugly. I think I've been an entrepreneur in sales pretty much my whole life. Like, you hear the common story of like, oh, I sold candy in school. I really did that.
All right, everyone, welcome back to Rep to Owner. We have a very special guest with us today, José Vega. He is a seasoned brand specialist with over a decade of experience. He's also the author of Ugly is in Your DNA, which dives deep into strategizing your brand and how you can make it better. Today, we're going to go over how he's transitioned from a sales rep into a business owner and go over what his journey is now and what he's looking forward to doing in the future. So with that being said, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And Vega, talk us a little bit about before you even got into sales, just a whole backstory, and maybe even childhood, and
Just straight into it, huh?
straight into it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, kind of not to go too much into like the childhood aspect of it, but I think I've been an entrepreneur in sales pretty much my whole life. Like, you hear the common story of like, oh, I sold candy in school. I really did that. I mean, we had candy sales and lawnmower businesses, everything. So just growing up in the area that I did, and the upbringing we had, we didn't have a lot. I mean, we had shelter, we had the necessities of what we needed, but I knew if I wanted more, I couldn't ask my mom to just buy me the newest J's or whatever I wanted. So I'm like, I have to figure out how to do this on my own. So that was a big part of learning sales throughout my life. Is like, okay, well, how do I position this, or how do I ask for this? How do I add value to make some money? So a bunch of small businesses, or little side hustles growing up. And yeah, I always knew that I wanted to get a job. I would see like the owners of the landlords pull up to our neighborhood, and they pull up in the Beamer or the Benz, and they pull out with a suit. And I'm like, yo, that's dope. I wanted to be that. So I was like, I just got to get to that point. All right. Um, Fast forward through there, moving into high school, I started to learn. I sharpened up on my sales skills. So, but again, just a bunch of different little side hustles that position me there. We won't get too lost into it just yet, but yeah.
100%. I guess, what was one of your favorite side hustles?
Favorite side hustles. I don't know, man. I don't honestly. I was kind of like trying everything, right, to just find my place. I think the videography part of it would probably be my favorite side hustle. Not so much that I love the production, but I love the opportunities that I got from the camera. It opened so many doors that I couldn't afford to get in myself. Like, they say like you could either pay to be in the room or earn your way, right, with value. So I couldn't always afford to be in the room, but I earned my way into the room with the value that I was bringing. So that helped me too, because rather than being around, people my age who probably didn't have much to teach me at the time, I was always finding opportunities to get into rooms far beyond where I was, and learning new tactics, new sales strategy. I would just hear how somebody would talk or look at how they would present themselves. And I'm like, okay, let me take this like mental note real quick. And I would just kind of go back and test it on my own brand, test it on myself. I mean, I didn't know I was building a brand at the time, but I was like learning all of these little things that would eventually lead me to, finding the success that I did within my space.
Nice. What first got you into sales?
Finding out that I was having a kid, yeah, that knowing that I needed to make more money, so I was always having these side hustles and I was making decent money, but I knew that there was more money to be made. And I was kind of forced into sales because I thought like I thought I was like the truth, right? I'm like, yo, I'm the man. Like when it comes to branding, I know everything, right? Because I had like, well, back in high school, I had learned branding, right? I took business and entrepreneurship, and I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing now, but I didn't have any degree in branding or marketing, but my portfolio spoke for itself. So long story short, I came up with this smart idea, right? So a few years into it, I'm working with all these different small businesses, and I'm like, I want to learn like what these bigger agencies are doing to get these big contracts so that I could do the same. And I showed up and I applied to an agency. That's a funny story in itself, but when I finally got the job, not having the paper success that they were looking for, a degree, they threw me straight into a sales position with a fancy name. It was called direct marketing, which is direct sales. So
What about as far as your sales journey goes? What's like key part from before your transition to being a business owner that you kind of remember that really stood out to you in sales? That you're like, I'm good at this. I know what I'm doing.
Before like, before getting into, like, the big marketing agencies I was working with, just in general, I think even, like, from a young age, like, as a teenager, just seeing how fast it was to make money, like, while all of my peers were, working at McDonald's or, in their parents' business and barely scraping by a couple $100, I was just like, "Alright, yo, look, I got this or I got that." Just selling it and being able to acquire the same amount of money just way faster, I'm like, "Yo, I think I'm pretty good at this sales thing," right? But I didn't see it as sales. I didn't realize the skill set I was building. I'm like, "Oh, I'm a good hustler." That's the way I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm a hustler." Like, painting that image, just being involved in music and different things, I was like, "Oh, I'm a hustler." That's what I just kept on saying. But it was a lot of skills that were developing being a better, sales rep at the time. So,
So you're building that along the way.
yeah.
And during that sales journey, I mean, that's kind of funny. It sounds like you applied for a different position and then
Mhm.
got put into the sales. Um,
Yeah.
like for you during that sales journey, what were some of the hard moments during that? Because I mean, you did
Yeah.
it to raise your kid and like earn more income than these side hustles. Like, what were some pivotal moments within that sales journey?
Yeah. I think honestly, just to backtrack it a little bit, because we did skip a lot to go straight into that agency. There was a lot. Some of my most difficult moments were before even getting to that agency, and the process and the journey that I experienced that allowed me to build up enough confidence to think that I deserved the top position at that company when applying. Right. So a lot of it came early on when I decided to start my own business. Right. And when you start your own business, prior to being a sales rep, I was a business owner. So I went business owner back down to rep, which was like you had to humble yourself. It was a pride check and an ego check, and then back to business owner again, which is now. But I would say the hardest part was like the first time I ever tried entrepreneurship. Like, I had done so many different hustles and I was grinding out and I was learning about branding. I was acquiring all these skills. I just didn't know what it was at the time, right? Like, all of these assets were coming up. I'd do a little bit of this. I'd find, a skill set. Let me hone this in. This is my arsenal now. Do a little bit of that. Okay, I got a new skill set. So all of this time, I'm finding all of these successes, right? I'm finding these wins. I still hadn't really got hit in the face with a loss yet. So it was building up all of this confidence and this ego that hadn't been tested and it hadn't been checked, right? So, doing all these little side hustles, learning about it. Um, when I decided to be like, I'm like, yeah, I think I can be a business owner, and then it didn't work right away, and I didn't find the clients, and I'm like, shit, what am I gonna do now? Like, bills are due. I didn't know I was gonna have a daughter at that time, so I wasn't too pressed, but I'm like, I have to figure this out, right? So I'm like, okay, let me really look, at that time facing those challenges. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I start to think to myself, I go like, all right, I started to develop one of the most valuable assets that I had, which is self-awareness. I'm like, bro, you're doing way too much. You're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing all these hustles to make money, but what are you really good at? And when I really started to ask myself that question, it just kept falling back to branding. Like, all the way back from high school, throughout that gap from high school to starting to work at that agency that I got hired at. I'm like, all of the things that you've done, what it has allowed you to find success, no matter what the hustle where was branding. You were creating a brand. You were separating yourself against any competition that you had. So I'm like, okay, maybe this brand thing can work, right? Um, and yeah, I would say just that journey of self-discovery and self-awareness was probably one of my most difficult challenges that I had to face. But one of the most rewarding once I understood, the science.
That's amazing. So yeah, I love that your journey was business owner, humbled back down to sales rep,
Yeah.
and then back to business owner.
It was actually rapper business owner. Yeah. Yeah. No. So, yeah, so I mean, that's how I learned about that's how I really tested my skills for branding, right? High school I finished all my credits early, so I ended up taking some college courses. I did business and entrepreneurship, legal aspects of business. Throughout high school, when we had to do this project, part of it was branding. We all split up the work. I didn't want to do numbers. I didn't want to do finance. So I'm like, oh, I'll take the creative side. Knocked it out in like 2 days, right? And everybody else is struggling. My side hustle kicks in, right? The hustler kicks in. I'm like, yo, I just did this so fast. I was like, let me just sell the branding like portion of this test thing that we had to do, this project, to everyone in the class. So I started selling branding to all of them, right? And that kind of like allowed me to really test the skills, learn different things like logos and graphic design, web design. So then I'm in high school at that time. I had started my rap career. I thought I wanted to be a rapper before wanting to be a business owner, right? And that actually, I found success in it, and all of the skills that I had learned throughout taking these business classes, I started to apply it to myself and my own brand as a rapper. I was like, okay, let me build up my image. All right, let me, I need a logo. These people are charging $1,000 for a logo. Well, let me just, learn graphic design. I taught myself Photoshop. I'm like, okay, well, they're going to get merch. How much is merch? $2,000. I'm like, forget that. How much is a screen printing machine? 600. Doom. So I'm just like, I started doing all of these different things, and really, that's where I'm like, all right, I think I got something going here. I'm a brander now. I was working road construction at that time. That's how I was affording to buy. I could afford to buy like the equipment and all that stuff that I was using, and it was really just sharpening my skills in branding. Fast forward, we're on tour one day, and I'm opening up for some names. There's some big names. I'm not gonna go too deep into the rapping side of it, right? And someone was mad about their website. They were like, "This thing sucks." Me joking, I'm like, "How much you pay for it?" He's like, 5,000. I was like, "I would have done it for 1,000." He pulls out a wad of cash from his pocket and hands me $1,000. So now I'm like, "Okay, I think we can make this happen." Because keep in mind, like I said, I was working road construction. That's not too fun if you have ever worked road construction before, you're just killing yourself in the heat. So I'm like, I'm making $1,000 a week in this hard job, or I can make $1,000 in an hour to make a website. So, transition, and I opened the first version of the branding agency back then. And but I was watering myself down. I would just do anything. I was like, "Okay, you need websites? I got you. You need, like, photography? I don't have a camera yet, but I'm not gonna tell you. I went and bought a camera? I got you. You need videography?" So I was just like, yes to everything. Yes, 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 yes. And, that kinda, I found my success. I was making 6 figures, doing it, but I was just stuck working with all of these small businesses. So that's where the grand scheme came. I was like, I'm going to take the skill set, the portfolio that I built, and I'm going to go apply at an actual agency that's working with corporate companies. I'm going to find out how they're getting the big contracts. I'm going to steal all their information, and I'm going to go back and work for myself. So I had to humble myself because, there was ups and downs. I was making a lot of money, then I was not making the money, then I was making money. So I said, let me start this agency, thinking that my portfolio was enough to get me, VP of the company. False. That's what threw me directly into, the last part I just said, threw me straight into direct marketing, which is a fancy way of saying sales agent. Yeah.
Wow. So, how did you make that switch after you were a sales agent? For how long, by the way, were you doing?
It was supposed to be 6 months. I was gonna go in and steal all their information.
Uh huh.
That 6 months turned into, like, 2 years.
Damn.
2 years.
Yeah. I was not a sales agent for 2 years, but that process of being part of that company was about 2 years. Yeah, so
And you said your daughter was the reason for that switch again for
yeah.
those 2 years?
Finding out that I was having a daughter, I needed sustainability. I needed to be a provider, right? I can't, because as an entrepreneur, with what I was doing, I was like, I would have amazing months, and then I would have, 1 or 2 months where I wasn't making any money at all. Like, so not having that stability, I was like, I can't keep doing this. I need something that's gonna pay. So that's what made me jump into the agency, which then threw me into sales. And it was honestly, it was more of like an ego check, having to humble myself and go back from being the person that sets my own schedule, do whatever I want, showing out, not necessarily showing out, but when you're young, you do want to show off, right? So like showing out to then having to humble yourself and like people being able to like go into a store and see me selling something, like it wasn't too good of a feeling. So it kind of pushed me forward to hustle more, learn more about sales, and quickly rank up at that company.
And what made you stay there for 6 months or for 2 years instead of 6 months?
The initial like, the first, interview series. It was a three-part interview series, and there was a young guy that was interviewing me. He had just made partner in the firm, so, he was cocky, two you get 2 alphas back to head, right? Like, everybody like, when you're young, you wanna be that alpha, you wanna be, like, prove a point, so we kinda bumped heads during the interview. It was the last part. I made it through the entire series, and, like, the last part, the guy's, like, checking me kinda, and, like, again, it tested my ego, and I'm like, who do you think you are checking me?" And he's like, he was like, "You don't have any degree. You think you're some hot shot. Like, I don't think you're gonna do anything here, honestly." He's like, "I kind of feel like giving you the job to prove a point." So at that point, feeling tested, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna pass, and I'm not only gonna take the job, I'm gonna pass everybody in this office, and I'm gonna take your job. So, kinda having that push behind me where I'm like, I'm already stressed that I'm having a kid. I kinda am struggling financially, and now I gotta, prove myself to this guy. It really just I had so many things happen. There was a lot that was going on in life in that time anyway, but I had so many things that was like, I have to prove a point. So, I think it was, like, good and bad at the same time, but I was really doing it to prove a point to everybody, like, I can be successful. And I jumped in, a month in, I became top producer. A month and a half, I was getting flown around the country to train other sales reps. And then 11 months later, I did what I said I was going to do. I took the guy's job and I became partner in the firm.
Was that to prove a point to yourself or to everyone around you?
To be honest, I don't know. I look back at it. I think it was a little bit of everything. I say that it was to prove a point to other people, but back to that self-awareness, I think it was to prove a point to me. I would look in the mirror and I'd be like, "Damn, bro, like, are you failing?" Because everyone, from high school, everything that I did, I found success easily. So everybody would look and be like, "Oh, yo, like he's killing it. He's doing this." So I felt like I had to keep that image up, right? Like I was just always so worried about what other people were gonna say. So obviously I wanted to make money, but when I really look back at it, like why did I want to make money? I wanted to make money so I could buy a cool car. I wanted to make money so I could have a dope apartment. I wanted to make money so I could be like, "Oh, look what I'm buying for my daughter." Like all of these different things. So I would say that it was for other people, but really I think it was me. I think it was just my ego and worrying about the wrong things.
What kept you going during those months where you said you weren't doing so well when you were in sales?
At that point, I would definitely say it was my daughter, right? Because beyond wanting to prove a point to other people, I mean, this is someone that, didn't it's a life that didn't ask to be here. It was my responsibility. I brought her in this world and I couldn't look myself in the mirror and be like, "Bro, you can't afford your kid's pamper." Not that it ever came to that, but when it was tough and I'm like, especially working sales, you're working commission base, you eat what you kill. So when times got down, I'm like, "Yo, you really gonna be that guy that can't afford Pampers? Like, you really gonna be the guy that's gonna have your kid struggling?" So those moments, it was more like I knew I had to provide for her. And, growing up, there was a lot of opportunities that I missed because I mean, my mom was an amazing mom, hustler. I learned a lot of my skills from her as well. But there was a lot of opportunities that I had to take, no's that I didn't deserve because we couldn't afford it. So one of the biggest things for me, I made a promise to myself and I made a promise to my daughter before she could even understand it that she would never experience a no that she didn't deserve. If she ever got a no, is because or she had to say no to something, is because she wanted to say no to it, not because she deserved to have it and I couldn't provide it for her. And I mean, this is a promise that she knows. I mean, now she's 9, turning 10. She can understand it a lot more, but she knows that I hold that promise close to my heart and I hold it close to the relationship that I have with her.
It's amazing. So then you said you made the switch after 2 years. Did you feel like being a business owner again the second time around, what was the difference between when you were first starting up with that and then you starting again?
It wasn't I was starting again, right? Because you know, during that process when I decided to go back and work for myself, I was already a business owner. So 11 months in, I became partner in a firm. So I was no longer a rep. I was no longer an associate of the company. Not necessarily associate, like a sales associate is what I meant. But I was a part owner in the firm. So I was already working, but it wasn't the way that I wanted to do things, right? There's a board that you have to respond to. There's other people, and it's like, yes, my name's on the account, but why do I have to explain my thought process or the actions that I'm taking with all of these other people that don't understand the business? Like, just because they understand the bottom line and the numbers on a sheet, like, why do I have to ask you, how to create a campaign or approve this or approve that? So I was already a business owner. I just again was like I felt trapped, locked in a box. You hear the phrase about golden handcuffs, right? Like I had on golden handcuffs. Like ideally, my goal, what I said is I want to make money, and then I was looking at an account with commas on it, and I'm like, okay, I should be happy. I'm not happy, and I had to look up, and I'm like, why am I not happy? I became a slave to the business. Like I was a high paid employee of the company. And I always said that, if the business was being built for my daughter, was being built for my family, I look up, a year into it, something that I was only supposed to be there for 3, maybe 6 months at most, now I own a part owner in this firm, and I'm halfway across the country most of the time. I'm away from my daughter. I'm away from my family. Like, I'm spending money on dumb stuff. I'm like, yo, I'm not happy. Like, I have to find a way out of this. So it was really a no-brainer. I was looking for an excuse, looking for a way out. Um, I was just waiting for anything to, cross my path for me to be like, okay, that's the reason. Again, it goes back to like the issue was within me, but I was looking for an external thing to point out. Like, why?
What was that external thing
What do you mean, what was the external? Like,
that pushed you to get out of it?
so it's a little bit like just a side story of the tangent. It wasn't that that was the thing. I already had made the decision in my mind. I was just looking for like what to point it at. And the business put a lot of stress on me and like the way that I wanted to live my life. And it ended up pushing me across the country. And so I wasn't around my daughter. So I wasn't really seeing her grow up. So I missed like a year of her life, someone that was with me all the time. So I came to visit because she ended up catching a really bad allergic reaction to something, and she ended up in the hospital. I hadn't seen my daughter in like 3 months. So her mom calls me. She's like, your daughter's in the hospital. So I canceled all my meetings. I canceled interviews, everything, drove over here. And my daughter's always been super smart. Like, I could have full conversations with her since she could start talking. And when I came to visit her, I made sure she was good. When I went to go leave, she goes, Dad, don't ever leave me again, please. And I'm like, all right, that's what I needed to do. So went back, and it was one of the hardest decisions ever because keep in mind, I'm like, the whole point of starting a business is to make money. I'm finally making money. I'm like, bro, you really about to walk away from this? And it was really scary. I had 19 employees, an admin, an assistant, so like 21 people working at a company. This is their livelihood as well. I had to like really just sit there and go, well, let me evaluate the situation. And when it came down to it, I'm like, if your why is really your daughter, then why are you here? And I did what I had to do, and I ended up pretty much stepping away from that company. I gave my partners, the ownership that I had. Went through hella challenges, legal challenges. You can't just walk away from a company that big. You can't just walk away from obligations and contracts you had. So it was a big challenge, man. You know, you guys actually interviewed a good friend of mine's, Xavier. So he was actually a big part of that pivotal moment as well. Xavier was he had his business he had started, and then another good friend of mine's was working with Xavier. And he had gave me a call right around the time the same thing that happened with my daughter. So I'm already stressing out, bro. Like, I'm over here in my office, like damn near about to be in tears. I don't cry easily, and I'm like, yo, I'm just like pressed. Like, everything's bothering me. I can't get it right. And I knew that I was gonna walk away after she said those words. I just didn't know when or how or what. So Xavier and my friend Rob, they gave me a call. I had just moved into this new corner office. I just bought a dope new office, like floor to ceiling glass, like Williams. I did this, and again, caring about other people, I did this Instagram post, and I talked about how I always wanted this dream job where I could show up every day in a suit and have the corner office and all this thing, and I never got that job. But today, I bought myself that office and I gave myself that job, right? So everybody's like, "Oh yeah, yeah." I'm like getting all this congratulations. Meanwhile, nobody knows that I'm stressing out. I'm in the like darkest moment of my life at that point, and Rob and Xavier gave me a call. And they're like, Rob was like, bro, like, I just want to say congratulations. The office is dope, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, thank you. So I pan around and I show Rob the office. And he's like, dope. He's like, I just started entrepreneurship. He was with Xavier. Him and Xavier had started a venture. And he goes, check out my office for the day. So he pans around, and they were both at the beach with their laptops. But when he panned around, their kids were playing in the water. And I hung up the phone, and that hit me like hard. Like, so my eyes got watery, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, "Bro, I feel like shit. I feel like a piece of shit, to be honest." I was like, "Yo, like, you're not paying attention to your kid." And that day, I walked away from the business and came back and started from ground zero again in Tampa.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that, I guess that experience that Xavier and your friend like put you in, like really just honed in on your self-awareness
Yeah.
of your situation, that you needed to be closer to your daughter and get yourself in a spot where you have that freedom
Mhm.
as a business owner, that you don't have to answer to other people, but really,
Right. But I mean, I think it was one of the biggest blessings in disguise because now I wasn't starting from scratch. Bro, I mean, that company, I learned so much from it. I trained over 600 sales reps during that time. And I mean, I had ignorance on fire. I didn't know anything about anything at the time, right? Like I thought I knew everything, but I'm like, "All right, I gotta make something happen. I have to find success here." So, bro, I was learning about a product 1 day before, 2 days before, sometimes hours before, but I knew my framework. So like I took all those frameworks with me. So I would have these frameworks and I'm like, all right, but I could sell anything. So I took those skills and we came back and just started grinding out with like all of these things. So I mean, at that time we jumped into MLM, we did, other side hustles. I sold credit, but I just kept on sharpening, 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 sharpening. So like there was like 3, 4, maybe 4.5 year gap of my life where I was just doing sales like nonstop. I wanted to be a business owner. I gave myself the title of business owner, but it was straight up sales. But I mean, that's probably one of the most pivotal points in my life because I wouldn't be anywhere that I am today if I didn't understand sales. Everything that you do in life is a sale, even if you're not selling a product, right? Like even for you to even have interest to want to interview me here on your podcast, it was a sale, a conversation where I positioned myself or my value or my image or something that hooked enough interest or hooked your attention, and then we had a conversation. At some point there was a presentation of myself, who I am, my skill sets, right? And then there was a close. Either you closed me or I closed you. I think it was a little bit of both, but it led to the transaction and the overall, like, what we're doing here being on a podcast. Like, so when you start to understand that, I'm like, wait, okay, I didn't waste my time for years in that company. It gave me the most valuable skill set that I needed because everything that I do in life is sales. So I just started approaching everything like from a sales perspective. I'm like, everyone I talk to, I'm going to sell them. And it was like a game. I'm like, you're going to close me or I'm going to close you. If you close me first, I lose. I don't like to lose.
Wow.
Yeah.
So those 4 years you were doing that, you were learning everything. I love that you said that because I can relate as well. It's like once you learn how to sell, you can pretty much sell anything,
Yeah.
and then turn that into your own business and your own brand. So I know that right now you came out with a book.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So the book is called Ugly is in Your DNA. Right. And it's the approach to branding, right? Where most people come into, there's a lot that we could talk about the book, but most people come into my office or they'll come into a session and they just like have this idea in their head of who they need to be, right? Or what they want to look like. They're like, yo, I want to look like Sophia, but I want to sound like Ian. But, this person has these videos and I want to do these videos. And they start to create this image that they think they want to be, right? And then they wonder why they can't find success online because they're failing to sell their most valuable asset, which is them, their uniqueness. Like, their struggles. Like everyone thinks that the beauty is in within everything being perfect, but the beauty is within the imperfections. So the book, Ugly is in Your DNA, it shows them that the reason you're not being successful with your brand and with being able to sell yourself or sell people on your brand is because you need to look in the mirror and realize you're ugly. But not like from a physical perspective, right? You're ugly because you're unclear with your message, you're greedy with your ask. You're expecting something from your audience. You're expecting for them to say yes to the sale without you adding any value to them, right? You lack consistency, and the why is you. You're not present. When you show up to these conversations, you're like a robot. You're really not there. You're focusing on the words. What am I going to say next so that they can say yes to this? And you treat it like a pitch. You're talking to them. I'm sorry, you're talking at them instead of talking with them. So, like, if you want to be successful and you want to make sales and you want to have a successful brand, the answer is simple. Stop being ugly and start being attractive. The way you become attractive is by adding value, by being interesting. The way that you're interesting is by being interested. Ask more questions, have a conversation. So instead of having a sales pitch, have a sales conversation. Let them talk to you. Let them give you the answers that you need because 90% of the time, the person is going to tell you what you need to know to sell. And if you're having a hard time selling them, it's because you're probably talking too much and you haven't let them speak to let you know what the problem is. If you just start asking questions and you let them speak, you're gonna go, oh, that's what's wrong. Oh, that's what you need. Now you don't have to waste your time with the long ass pitch. Your pitch could be 30 minutes long, but if you just ask enough questions, now you go, okay, that's the problem. I only need to say 5, or I only need to speak for like 8 minutes of the pitch that I actually had, because that's what they need to know in order for me to like point out their pain point and know that I have the solution for it. So yeah, the book pretty much teaches that. It's the approach to branding on how to stop being ugly, how to start being more attractive, and then pretty much how to sell your brand.
At what point within that journey did you like really, really embrace that for yourself, for an online presence?
Um, I would I don't think it was an exact point. I think it was just throughout the process, little by little, I was just sharpening, right? Like everyone thinks that it's like that's the destination that I need to get to, right? Like from point A to point B. But it's like point, A1, A 1.1, A, 1.2. Like there's a lot of little checkpoints before you get to that end one. So every time I was making it to one of those checkpoints, I was refining something. I was switching something. I get into a room and I see how, a guy will walk up and, like top performer. And I'm like, okay, what does he do? Okay, before jumping straight into it, I what do I do wrong? Okay, I come in a room and I jump straight into my presentation, but I see this guy, he comes in, he warms people up. He gives them a compliment, he says a joke. You start talking to them for a few minutes and then boom, they don't even realize, I didn't even realize when he transitioned from a joke and a regular conversation into the sales. So I'd see things like that and I'd take the mental note. All right, now next time I come in the room, I'm gonna start a conversation with you. You're not even gonna know when I transition from conversation into pitching you. And like I think little by little, just doing that and just keep on looking at who's ahead of me, who's doing better. Not necessarily comparing myself, but again, being self-aware to know, all right, that guy's sharp. Okay, that girl's got a great personality. I love the way that she makes people feel safe with her. Like just learning from everyone and little by little, just adding that, adding that, adding that.
That's incredible. What's a key piece of advice that you would give to someone that is looking to start their own business that kind of wants to position themselves with their brand?
Stop overcomplicating it. Just the simplest answer is to keep things simple. Kiss it. Keep it super simple. Don't keep it super simple, stupid. Like that was the end of it. Like, cause you just call somebody stupid if they were making it Yeah. So, yeah, just like we were talking about it briefly before we even started recording. Like people will literally drown in a cup of water. Like they'll take a situation, like they make everything complicated, even their challenges, even their obstacles. They make it this grand thing, like, oh my God, I'm dying. Like, no, you're not dying. Like if you really look at your life, like you have 100% success rate at overcoming any challenge you've ever faced. Like, think about the worst thing that's ever happened in your life. You're still here today. You're still running a podcast. You have a business. You're probably not even thinking about it. So that means you have a 100% track record. You did not die. Unless you die, you're gonna overcome it. So when you look at it like that, and you just like, all right, bro, like this didn't work. Eventually, it's gonna work. Or if it doesn't, like I'm gonna learn from it or something. Just not overcomplicate it. And you find that like when you don't lose yourself in those unnecessary details of just like turning an anthill to a mountain, like the answer just finds its way towards you. Like if you think that you're gonna be successful and you just do whatever you possibly can to be successful, eventually it'll happen.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I think with that too, I guess for what do you wish you would have known? I mean, you were like after you had gone out of that position with the company, like you started being with your daughter more for 4 years, you were doing sales, right?
Mhm,
You were like still taking on that position as business owner. You hadn't made that transition yet
mhm.
to actually running a business, having that time and freedom you probably wanted fully, like with your daughter to do what you want. What do you wish you would have known making that transition into that place you wanted to be at?
I would again, it goes back to keeping things simple. I wish I would have known to keep it simple earlier, right? Like I was making it more difficult than what it had to be. I would and the reason I say that is like 'cause you don't get time back. So I was wasting time. I was making things take longer than what they needed to. So I wish that I would have known that like instead of having I would focus on like, okay, I need to change my pitch. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to do this. I would just overcomplicating it. I really just need to have conversations with people. And more important than having conversations, like you hear it all the time, like, what's a brand? When people know, like, and trust you, right? Well, no one ever tells you how to get them to know, like, and trust you. And it's really simple. Just have a genuine conversation and truly care about helping them. If I would have known that, I would have been like, bro, I don't stop talking. Like, if I would have known that, I would have just done it a lot faster and understood that, like, bro, you really don't have to say anything. There's no secret sauce. You just have to talk to them, find out what their problem is, genuinely care about helping them with that problem, and let them know that you genuinely care. And, just it's more about the experience that you create for people, not necessarily what you say. And that's what I wish I would have known because people don't always remember what you say, but they remember how you make them feel. So make them feel something through your words.
Exactly.
So by keeping it stupid simple, what you like really mean is just focus on the people, be yourself, and just take as many actions and
Do
go forward.
exactly what we're doing right now. Just talk to them. Like if you want to be a great sales agent or sales rep or whatever you call it, doesn't matter what industry you're in. It doesn't matter if you're doing direct sales, selling something in a store, if you're doing solar, if you're doing insurance, whatever the situation is, I guarantee you if you look in the mirror and you really ask yourself, or you even review your calls, or you review your pitch. Am I really having a conversation with this person and actively listening to what they're saying so that I can solve their problem? Or while they're talking, am I in my head not even paying attention and prepping the next part of my pitch? And most of the time, 99% of the time, if you're honest with yourself, you're going to realize I'm not even listening to what they're saying. In my head, I'm waiting to figure out how can I transition to the next part of my pitch? How do I move to this? How do I move to that? And you're really making it complicated for yourself because you just have to talk to them, find out what the pain point is. And I don't care if you're only 10% into your pitch. If you know what the pain point is and you can obviously present a solution, like cut the pitch short. If they're already impulse and they're like, wow, I trust you, close at the height of impulse.
What do you think is the number one thing or one of the biggest things that holds people back from starting their own business, becoming an entrepreneur, and making that switch from working for somebody else as a sales rep into being a business owner?
What I think is like their biggest,
Thing that holds them back.
the doubt in themselves. Like even the ones that are hot shots, if like they're like, oh, I'm the best sales thing, the best thing since anything, they if you really believe that, then there's no reason why you shouldn't jump today. Start. So I think the biggest thing that holds people back is the uncertainty. They really don't think they're as good as they are, or they're like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make money. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. It's just that I don't know. When like it just holds them back because they don't believe in themselves as much as they think they do, or they're putting up an image for other people. Like some, especially in sales, it's one of those industries like, oh, the leaderboard. Oh, like top producer. Like there's so many things that'll trap you. And I think as a business owner, we have to be aware of that also, because you kind of create this environment of fluff where everybody's like, damn, even if they're struggling, instead of being honest, like, yo, like in a bad dark spot. Like, yo, I'm getting retractions, or yo, like I'm not making any sales, but they're so scared to say it because the owner's like, let's grind out. Like you suck if you're not making sales. Like you're shitty person, like, or like, right? So you create this environment where people are scared to be self-aware and actually address the problem. So a lot of them, you'll get a lot of fluff where it's like, yeah, let's go, da, 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 da. And they're recruiting people like, yeah, we're the best thing ever. Meanwhile, they go home, they feel like crap, they're unsure about themselves, and then they get a downline that now has a leader that's unsure about himself. So that trickles down, and the downline is unsure about themselves. And you get a bunch of people that are like faking this happiness and faking love for sales when really if you just address the problem, you'll love sales a lot more. I promise you, it's not that you hate sales. You hate rejection. No one hates sales when they're good at it, because when you're good at sales, you write your own check. So I think it's important as a business owner to, yes, create an environment that like pushes for competition, but a healthy environment for self-awareness to be like, yo, it's okay if you suck right now. Tell me you suck, or tell yourself that you suck, and let's fix it. Because the worst thing you want to do is have an office full of reps that are just stressed the hell out, and they're scared to tell you they're stressed out because the environment doesn't allow for it.
So that self-awareness will give you the confidence to make that jump.
Bro, bet that's I look back at it, that's probably one of the best things that I focused on growing, because I didn't always have it. And one of the biggest assets that has helped me, and project me to any success in anything that I've done is the self-awareness. To know when I'm slacking, to know when I'm like, damn, bro, I'm kind of stressed out right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh damn, like this is kind of hard. You know what? Maybe my pitch sucks. And you're like, you don't want to nobody wants to say my pitch sucks, right? Everybody goes into the office and what is, bro, I'm a beast. But you can't close more sales than me. Oh, you want to make a bet? Da, da, da. Meanwhile, they're like giving themselves a pep talk on their way to go, well, to the job, or get on the phone, because they know damn well they don't want to hear all those no's. They know that they're really not good at their pitch, but they're like, trying to distract themselves from it. Like, bro, just be self-aware. Let yourself, like, it's okay to be like, yo, this is hard. This is not working out, you know? I
How
think
do
one of
you,
the I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, keep going.
I was gonna say one of the things that helped me, be self-aware was what's called a TPC chart.
That's exactly what I was going to ask is how do you continue to flex that self-awareness muscle?
Yeah, well, I was like just different things. So TPC helped me the most to be self-aware in sales, right? Because you don't want to change everything. You don't know if everything's broke. Like, it might just be your intro that sucks, or your intro might be great, like, you have an amazing personality, but your pitch sucks. Or, like, a lot of people are really good at the pitch, they know everything about the product or their service, but their close sucks. Like, you do an amazing job doing a presentation, and then you're scared to ask for the money. Like, you doubt yourself how good you are, so when it comes time to ask the money, you're like, "Yeah, so if you kinda wanna buy it," like, or, "Let me know," and they start stuttering, and they're just, like, very unsure, like, "Bro, you just wasted your whole time." Like, you kill yourself. So, it's important to find out where you're messing up. So, a TPC chart, and this is, like, old school, you could write it on a paper or whatever, but, like, there's pretty sure there's different ways to track it now, but it's talk tos, presentations, closes. So, I would just do that. Like, I'll be like, "Okay, law of averages." I talked to 100 people, so I'd mark down every time I talk to somebody, and talk to is just like breaking ice. "Hey, what's up, Sophia? How you doing? Hey, I love your shirt, like, that's awesome, like, what do you do? Da, 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 da." Start the conversation. As soon as I start talking to you, I put a little tally mark. Alright, okay, cool. Now, some point from talking to you, I gotta find where to transition into my pitch, right? Now transition, "Oh, what do you do?" Get you to ask me a question, get you interested, so that way I can transition into pitching you on my service or what I do and so forth. So, I'll be like, "Okay," and if I can make it into that transition and start pitching you, I put a little tally mark on the P, presentation. I made it into my presentation. And if I got all the way to the close and I ask you for the money, or I try to sell you on something, then I put a little mark there, right? And then I would look, I'd be like, okay, well, I talked to 100 people, but I only made it to 20 presentations. I suck at that transition. I need to fix that. Or maybe I talked to 100 people and 90 of them made it to the presentation. I'm like, "Oh, I'm killing it. My intro's good, my energy's good. I know my stuff because they stay for the presentation." But then out of nowhere, my close is like 5 people, right? I'm like, "Oh shit, I suck at my close." And then actual like sale, I would look at that. Okay, maybe I made it all the way to the close, but who actually purchased from me, right? Like who actually bought something? If it's low, then I'm like, okay, I need to fix that. And then there's also rehash. So remember, everyone's got a sale hidden. Remember, everyone's got another sale hidden, right? Something like that. And so after I close them, if I did make it to that, there's another sale there. Keep asking, like, "Yo, you got a referral for me? Yo, like, actually, do you have other businesses?" Right? So I would just track everything and see where they were dropping off, and then make those adjustments. Okay, well, I'm good, good, good. I suck at this. Let's make those adjustments and keep on refining, refining. Rather than changing my pitch every day or changing my approach, I just kept on refining little by little, little by little until I got the perfect pitch. Then when I got the perfect pitch, I no longer pitch it. How do I turn this pitch into a conversation?
It's awesome. Now, what about from a business owner's perspective? How do you keep that self-awareness going now as owning a business? And how would someone that is a sales rep that's looking to acquire their own business or start continue to flex that and be more self-aware?
Yeah. I would say really I track it obviously as a business, you track your KPIs, you track your numbers, right? If you're broke, you're probably not good at business. And then your team, if they're not, finding success, so you track it more with the KPIs of the business, just overall numbers, and then your team. Like, is your team stressed out or do they come in excited? Are they excited to work with you? Like when you get a new client, is everybody like, "Oh, shit, more work?" Or is like, "Yo, let's go," right? Do you have to tell them to come in or they're willing to come in on their own, right? Like all of those things you track. And then personally, uh just I like to make sure I don't get lost in my business again, right? So a lot of what I track for myself is not necessarily directly in the business, but how I feel about myself in life in general. Like, am I okay? Like, not necessarily balance, right? Because I don't think sometimes it's hard to find that balance, but just like, do I feel okay? Huh? There's no such thing as balance. No, but I just look at it. Yeah, I just kind of trust my gut feeling now. I don't really I don't look at the dollar sign, which I feel like a lot of people do, right? Everyone gets so lost in money. If you're good at what you do, naturally you should make money. But that shouldn't be the be all of your business. I think it needs to be, how do you feel every day when you wake up? Are you still excited to keep going? And how does your team feel? Like, does your team actually like you, or they just put up with you because they need to make money?
Yeah, I think for sales reps, I think an important thing, or I'm just really curious on what your thoughts are, like all those skill sets and things that you just laid out for us. Should they be focused on getting all those things within sales first and then transitioning into a business, or should
Absolutely.
they just transition to the business and learn on the way?
No, don't do that. Absolutely. Stick in sales as long as you can. I think everyone, whether you're gonna be a business owner or not, I think that should be like a standard, like
The prereq.
Yeah, that should be your prereq for life. Like, I feel like everyone doesn't matter. I don't care if you're gonna be a freaking doctor. Like, I don't care like what you're gonna be. Like, I don't care if you're gonna, I don't know. It's whatever you're gonna do in life. I think everyone should at some point do sales or an MLM or like, because I was like sales has a bad like a bad image to it. MLMs have bad images and like all this thing. People are like, ugh, like I don't want to do that. But like it's everything is sales.
Even as a doctor, you're selling yourself as the best doctor in the city
Yeah,
or
I work with
whatever your
two
specialty
amazing
is.
doctors right now.
Lawyers, everything. So it's
Mm.
how you position yourself, really.
Absolutely. So I think as much time as you could put into sales as possible, like you need to do sales until no's don't bother you. Until like you're literally unfazed by anything. Just all right, whatever. When you're okay and you're not stressed out and you don't have to convince yourself to like, oh, I gotta do this. All right, let's go. Right. Until you don't have to fake it anymore, that's how long you should do sales. Once you stop faking it and you're like, bro, I'm gonna make it happen, then go be a business owner. Cause then nothing's gonna phase you. The struggles of a business owner, who cares, bro? I just ate crap for 3 years. Like, what's that? You know what I'm saying? I get paid way more now to do that. Like, that's where you're gonna be. So I would say do sales until you don't hate it.
Yeah. I guess like with that as well, because if someone gets to that point where they just love sales, would you recommend they just stick in it, where they start enjoying it? They finally hacked it.
Mhm.
They feel themselves. They have a great team, obviously probably underneath them as well. Or would you say, hey, you've like achieved that, you should push forward into starting your own business? Or would you say, hey, they should go through and stick in that for a while longer?
Yeah. I always say, even take everyone's advice with a grain of salt, even mine's, even what I'm saying here. No one could tell you if you're ready to be a business owner. No one can tell you if you should be a business owner. It's a conversation you have to have with yourself. But I don't think everybody needs to be a business owner. There's like being a business owner is like not all it's like made out to be, right? Like there's great things with it. There's pros and cons to everything, right? So there's some people that like your purpose in life is not to be a business owner. Like I know sales agents that make more money than some business owners at the businesses that they're working at and have way less stress and go on way more vacations and they live their life up while the business owner is going crazy but he pulls up in a nice car. So just it really is really up to you, man. Just like live the life that you want to live and don't make any decision because of other people. So
Definitely. But if someone was to go through and switch, it would be at that point.
switch
So
switch when you're locked in, when you're sharp at sales and it doesn't bother you anymore.
And how do you feel like you would go about or do go about being the business owner that can make more than the sales rep and pull up in his nice car and still take all the vacations that you want to take and things that you want to do?
No, don't fall into that trap. Or like, okay, so I use that one as an example, right? But don't get lost in the wanting to buy a nice car or a nice watch, because everybody's different. Not everyone's money motivated, right? And then you may be money motivated at one point in your life and then pivot, right? So like right now, I don't drive a super fancy car right now because that's not what I care about anymore, right? So like, I recently just sold my Benz to be able to like, and that's just being transparent. Like a lot of people are scared to tell you the truth. Like, I make decisions that make sense. And that's how you're able to have longevity. That's how you're able to stick around in the industry for a long time. So, like, if you want to be a business owner, be self-aware and then like make logical decisions. Like, don't do something to go press. I like, can I go buy a nice car? Yeah. But does it make sense if I know that I want to make a huge like there's stuff that I haven't mentioned, people don't know, there's transitions. And I'm like, okay, I know if I have to make that huge investment, I should probably do this, or I should probably put money here. Or let's say I'm gonna go get a new mentor. There's some mentors that we're not gonna throw anyone's prices on there, but there's you could drop a bag. So it's like, do you impress somebody and have a fancy car, or do you go invest in something that's gonna make you sharper? So that's important too. I think like once you figure out that you want to be a business owner, make the smart decisions and don't just be a business owner so you can go buy more fancy stuff. Like be a business owner because that's what you are passionate about. That's your purpose and then make the right investments. Once you have everything in alignment, you have your investments, and then your investments can pay for all the flashy stuff, then go get the flashy stuff.
The mentor thing is huge. I wanted to ask you, how long have you been investing in mentors? What do you think about them? What is the importance for having a mentor for you?
I mean, since like 18, since like the beginning of entrepreneurship. And again, like I said earlier, there was rooms that I got in that I couldn't afford to pay, but I worked it. I would add value through the camera, through like I've always been good with words, right? Just like the gift of gab. So I'm like, hey, your speech kind of sucks. Let me help you. Like nobody has to know it's me. I don't even need recognition for it, right? So like that's how I would pay for my mentorship at first. And then all the way up until now, like, I've dropped a lot of money on mentorship, but it's always been worth it. But I think it's also important to be aware of who you invest in, right? Like some of the best mentors don't even have a presence online. Like there's tons of multimillionaires and billionaires that they might have like 90 followers online. So don't just get an investor, a mentor just because it looks like they're popping online. Like get someone that's truly aligned with your values, with the mission that you have for yourself, the purpose that you feel is calling your heart, whether that's a famous person or not, invest in that person and just watch where it takes.
And with you investing in these mentors for yourself personally, like where do you see yourself in 5, 10, 15 years?
Um, I mean, just to be honest, like I don't want to give you a fluff answer that sounds good on a podcast. I don't know. All right, like there's a lot, but and I'm okay with not knowing. Like it's okay to not know. Like as long I know that I'm walking in that direction, right? Like I know that as long as I'm walking on the path that I know is the right path for me, and the way you know it's your right path when you really trust that you're walking the path of your purpose and you're adding value, you have impact. I know as long as I keep walking this path, I might not know what's at the end of the path, but it's the path for me. So whatever's meant for me to happen in 5, 10, 18 years, 2 months, 2 weeks, it's gonna happen. So I just keep walking the path. I know confidently I can say that I'm fulfilling my purpose that God has in my life. So I don't know where I'm gonna be, but I know it's where I need to be at that time.
100%. I guess like with that as well, like what do you feel like your purpose is? And I guess like what you're working towards?
Yeah. Strongly what's taught in that book. And you see that I'm wearing my shirt, my agency, 11 agency, what 11 agency represents. 11 agency represents you don't need to be like anyone else because you're one of one. The value is within you and the imperfections and the challenges that you faced throughout your life. That's what makes you valuable. So my purpose is to have impact on as many lives as possible and show them that you don't need to create a brand. You just need to discover the brand that's already within you.
Wow. One of one.
One of one. You're one.
It's amazing.
Mhm.
Very good. So I know that there's a background story on your name.
Oh God.
I wanted to touch on that if you wanted to
Yeah.
share.
Yeah. So I mean, back in the high school days, right? So my name's Jose Vega. That doesn't sound too cool of a rapper name, right? So learning about branding, I was like, okay, I learned all these different things about like image. I'm like, all right, like I really have to create this persona, right? So as I was learning about branding, I'm like, okay, it's not what it is, it's what people perceive it to be, right? So I started shifting all these different things to create the perfect brand or image of rapper. So I'm like, all right, I don't like Jose. It sound like it's too common. It sounds like I might be I might confuse people. I sound like a reggaeton artist. I'm like, no, right? So I dropped Jose and I started going by J Vega as a rapper, right? So naturally going by J Vega, it kind of phased out Jose, right? But then after I made that pivot, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not doing music anymore. Like, how do I start transitioning? So people just started like, I don't even know when it happened. People started calling me Vega. So there wasn't a reason at first, but after becoming a father, the reason I stuck with it, it's actually has a lot deeper. So it goes back to my daughter, right? I grew up with no father in my life. So I always felt like the last name was given to me with like no value. Like there's last names where you're like, yo, I'm a whatever, fill in the blank. Like you think of all like the most popular or famous last names where it holds weight. Like it's so much more than a name. It's a legacy. It's like, yo, that's your father. Like, wow, you're part of that family. So the reason I really stuck when I decided to go all in and start a business and I'm like, okay, wait, I can really have impact. Like I'm starting to gain influence. Like I'm making impact online. PR wise, I'm getting featured on magazine and publications and doing news. I'm like, this is the opportunity for me to add value to that name that I always felt like didn't have value. So I started going strictly by Vega so that way the legacy that I'm building, if you ever look up anything, you search online and you do all those things, all of that ties back not just to me and my face, but long after I'm gone, like it's a legacy and value that I'm able to pass on to my daughter if I have any other kids in the future. Like it's something I'm giving them something that holds weight. So I go by Vega because I don't want it to be about me. Everything I'm doing is beyond.
It's amazing. and actually is Visionary Vega. He
Visionary Vega.
really is
Visionary
the
Vega.
visionary and the mastermind behind a lot.
Shout out to Chris Brown, one of my clients, not the rapper Chris Brown, no. But yeah, he used to call me Vega the Visionary, and I'm like, yo, that sounds bad catchy, right? My Instagram handle used to be branded by Vega, like for branding. But then when I started speaking, people started showing up to like the conferences and stuff, and they'd be like, "Yo, Brandon," and I'm like, "Who the hell is Brandon? Why is everybody calling me Brandon?" All right, that got to change. I'm like, "Oh, I kind of like the Vega the Visionary," but I'm like, "Eh," and we switched it, and that was probably the best decision ever. It's catchy. Is remember, like I've been building up around Vega the Visionary, or I'm sorry, Visionary Vega, and even just what visionary represents. So visionary is the art of seeing what others cannot, and that's a lot of the time is the value within yourself, the value within your story, and just like what you bring to the table. So perfect name for
Love it.
And change a lot of lives.
absolutely. So partnering up and really just showing people like it's the simple things in life, self-awareness, just happiness in general, and then the skill sets that you gain along the way, how to have a great conversation, how to care, and sales. Again, learn sales, learn sales, learn sales, and you'll be much happier in life because you'll find yourself easily getting everything that you want.
Love that. And just to wrap it up as well, I mean, because you're the branding expert, the visionary. I'd love to hear your thoughts on. I think a lot of people in today's world just do struggle with accepting themselves, their uniqueness, the ugliness. What advice would you give to someone really just trying to step into their identity and not care about what other people think?
You really just gave them the advice and it just like really stop caring what people think. I think once you stop caring what people think, it lifts a weight off your shoulders. You're like, all right, now your mind, you get some clarity and you can actually look at things from like the broader view of it and go, all right, well, let me look at who I really am. I am kind of dope, right? Like if you walk into a room, all sales aside, all business aside, right? Like who you are as a person, whether you're in a business, whether you're an owner, whether you're an entrepreneur, who you are, how you carry yourself as a brand, regardless. Everyone has a brand. So when you walk into rooms, I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter who you are, how awkward you are, how you think you look, whatever the situation is, it's impossible that every single person you've met in your life thinks like you suck, right? So with that being said, like obviously get that out of your head. Like you can't be that bad, right? So look at what are the good things? What do people like? When you walk into a room and people are like, "Yo, you're funny." Or like, "Yo, like you're very impactful with your words." Or like, "Yo, you're so caring." Or like look at all of the good things. Stop focusing on the bad thing. Look at the good things and go, all right, well, how can I double down and sharpen up on these? And then after you know what's the pillars that you have that are your strengths, don't be scared to look at your weaknesses because that's the opportunity to go, all right, well, maybe I can get good at this. Or if you don't have to get good at it, throw it out the window. Forget about it. Like if you don't care about fashion and you don't want to be the most fashionable person when you walk, if it really doesn't matter, you throw that shit out the window. Don't worry about being a fashionista or like the flyest person or a sneakerhead. If you don't care about it, throw it out the window. Whatever doesn't directly impact your purpose or what you want to do with your life, throw it out the window and only focus on your strengths and then the weaknesses that matter towards fulfilling your purposes.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing your journey. It was so good hearing from you, hearing your insights, and we're looking forward to seeing where you're going with everything.
Absolutely. Thank both of you. I appreciate you guys having me on here, man. This is dope. I love
This
talking about
is
sales, man.
Thanks for coming on.
Got to give them the sauce too. We'll have to do like I don't know, something, a joint sales lesson or something for your audience. Give them the sauce, give them the frameworks.
absolutely love that.
Some business skills and yeah. Well, thanks everyone for listening in. And if you want to learn more about how to start your own business or acquire one, go to reptowner.com so that you can find out. And make sure you check out Vega's book, Ugly is in Your DNA, and stay tuned for our next episode.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.